In the shadows of Arrakis lie many secrets, but the darkest of them all may remain.
Anytime Denis Villeneuve and Greg Fraser come together, it's proving to be the greatest recipe for cinema. What makes Dune 2 particularly special for me is the combination of CGI plus cinematography, great directing, beautiful production design, amazing performances by the actors, the pacing, the editing. This feels like the most perfect movie that is out there that you've ever watched. If you watch this in the theater, which, well, at the time we're speaking, is only available in theaters, whether you've gone to IMAX or just to a regular theater, this movie is what a cinematic experience is supposed to feel like. It's what we pay to go to the movies for. It's not a movie that threatens to create a new technology or wants you to feel as if this is something that has never been done before, because it has. What it does is something we've experienced. We've been to Arrakis in Dune 1. To an extent, the movie was done a disservice by Dune 1 in the sense that we've become desensitized to how beautiful of the imagery that Greg Fraser and his crew are able to create. In Dune 1, we were all amazed. I myself could not believe what I was watching. This beauty, this wonder of how was this made? Is this computer-generated graphics? Is this the Arri Alexa? Is it expensive lenses? Is this what it means to have high budget? Watching Dune 1 made you realize what it's like when $100 million is put into the film, not put into people's hands. You know, it justifies high budget. Dune 2 goes an extra step, and it's hard to appreciate that extra step because you've already experienced before. You've already tasted what the sand dunes look like, what being there. But even as much as my brain wanted to believe that I've seen this before, I couldn't help but notice that I had not experienced anything like this. I remember watching when Timothée Chalamet, Paul Atreides, when he's about to get onto that sandworm to ride it for the first time, I could not believe what I was watching. It felt as if I was watching magic.
You're brave, we all know that. Be simple. Be direct.
And at some point, I disappeared and was there with him, hoping he gets it right. And he did. And in that moment, I couldn't help but think how Greg Fraser, how Denis Villeneuve. This movie just proves what it's like to use technology to create a masterpiece, you know. I'm so happy.
Nothing fancy.
I understand.
As I was watching this film, it's difficult to pick problems with it. It feels perfect. And you have to nitpick. You know, if I was to nitpick, you'd say maybe it's too long, but it's hard to feel that way. My only critique of the film is it felt as if we were building towards something, and in the third act, or when it comes to an end, it just feels as if you're rushed to get out of there. But what happens is you want to be there more, longer. Give me more. I want to stay in this world because for the first time in a long time, I've been immersed in a cinematic experience. And the ending, it makes me want more. I want to see what will Florence Pugh do? What will Timothée Chalamet do? Anya Taylor-Joy's character, is she going to be born? What is she going to do? You want more. And that is the disappointment of, hey, you have to wait for the sequel, for the third installment of this. And that is, in my opinion, great filmmaking. Like, I've never left a theater thinking to myself,
I would dream about a movie, but this movie I've dreamt about of it. It feels like you want to be there. You want to be in Arrakis. Okay, fine. You don't want to be involved in the wars or be eaten by the worms, but you want to participate. You want to feel what it's like to be there, you know? And I think that is a cinematic experience.
The dynamic changes in Paul Atreides' form, you know, it reminds me of the hero's journey. At first, he denies it, he doesn't want it. And you have Javier Bardem, you know, this is the guy who, when you watch them in 007 or in No Country for Old Men, you can hardly believe he brings that level of comedy to this film that is needed to break a lot of conflicting tension that's risen just based on the dramatic tools that Denis Villeneuve decided to use. You know, moments where Timothée is going, I am not the Messiah, and they go, he is the Messiah because he doesn't believe he's the Messiah. And you're like, wow, what a performance. And the stakes are high and everything is there. You know, when you watch Elvis, Austin Butler come in, you're like, I don't know what to expect from this guy, and he's playing this psychopath. You don't need to tell me that this man is a psychopath for me to believe it. I see it in his intent, in his eyes, the way he does away with Bautista. You're like, damn, bro. Like, this guy was the brute in Dune 1, and you do away with him like that. And you can see the defeat. You know, this film has greatness written all over it. Bautista's character in Dune 1 is the big bad, and you can tell in 2 he's been defeated, and in his acting and in his decision making.
And I think, like, I remember when I was watching the fight, you know, and you're like, I've watched a lot of action sequences, I've watched a lot of this, but there was something about just the way the black and white didn't feel black and white. It felt like you were in a different space. It felt like you were watching something you've never seen before. And I understand, like, technically they say they used infrared to make those shots, but still, man, like, the thought process of, oh, let's do it this way, not that way, and let's create this cinematic thing, you know. And shout out to Hans Zimmer, like, the man always delivers. I don't think he's ever created anything lackluster, you know, and this was just a phenomenal experience. Dune 2 it was worth the wait, you know. It was worth everything.
Whilst I didn't like the way, you know, the big bad boss died, mainly because of how he was built in 1, you sort of understand maybe that's what's in the book and that is staying true to it. But also the dynamic shift in Timothée Chalamet's character and how he goes from this sweet boy from minute 1 and at the end he's turning into this dictator where you're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. But he's a man on a mission who believes in his goal. This film, man, it is amazing. This film is what happens when a director, a visionary, meets a great team and has the budget and has the freedom to do what they need to do. I believe this movie in IMAX is probably the best place to watch it, but even if you cannot get tickets to an IMAX or there's no IMAX in your city, this is a movie worth watching on the big screen and just having a time of your life. The cinematic experience is beyond anything that I have watched in recent memory, and I feel like we will never get to experience such again. Florence Pugh's rise in the past few years is something to commend. Her performances are always beautiful. She delivers whatever she's asked to do. When she is presented in this film and she's introduced, when a character is introduced, it's like, I do not know what Greg Fraser was thinking, but this is the most whereby you just want to connect and you want to believe everything that the actor is doing. You almost forget this is Florence and this is Princess Iruna, and you're there with her, you know, when she's talking to her diary and doing all these things that she's doing, and you believe in her and you want to see what her character turns into. She is a beautiful woman in general, but in this film, her beauty goes beyond the physical. It's more of an experience and the artistry, Great cinematography met with a great actor's performance creates those moments. I could feel sorry for the other actors because her acting in moments where she's not even speaking spoke a lot. I remember at the end when Paul threatens the great mother and you see her go, you're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming, and the way it was captured. This film is beyond perfect. My only qualms with Dune 2 are some things that, I think to the ordinary viewer you probably would not notice, but there were moments where I could notice where I felt like they were using blue screen or they were using the volume. There are moments where you can see it in the white shots. I don't know, maybe it's the screening that I went to, but you could tell something is off in these moments. When Poe is waiting for the worm in the white shot, you could tell that this is not synced in well enough or something happened with the colors. But I feel like those are small moments which go away and you don't really mind just because of the experience. I think it's 2 hours, 46 minutes of the whole time you're in there, you're immersed in the story, the editing, the pacing, the feel of the land. You can almost feel it. It feels as if you are there in these sand dunes. And the battle scenes, a lot of times when you watch people fighting in movies, yes, it's fake, it's not real, but in this, it felt as if the stakes were real. You knew that Timothée Chalamet would not die, but at certain moments it did feel like, ooh, what if he loses? What if Muad'Dib loses? And we've been building up to this, and you don't want him to lose, and you don't know what's going to happen. I think that's what makes this film beautiful. I once heard Christopher Nolan say, short A plus short B make short C. I wonder if we can say Dune 1 plus Dune 2 make Dune 3. But I don't think so. I just feel like this movie was and is what perfection looks like.
And it's worth watching in theater. I can't wait for it to come out so that we can dissect it more and just see some of the actions and works that these guys did, to really appreciate the work that he did. I don't know if there's any movie this year that will come out that will catch up, because I saw the trailer of Mad Max and that might be crazy, but we have to wait and see, because this guy's just set the bar way, way high.